Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Kevin O'Brien at Mansville Lutheran Church for our latest edition of Pastor Ponderings, where I talk about a topic of faith or something in the Bible or Christian living, just something that's been on my mind or on yours. This week, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately as we deal with some of the chaos in this world is how we understand fear and hope as Christians. Now, those are two big words that church people, as well as others, toss out a lot, but what does it mean? I can't explain all that in just a short video here, but I'm going to zero in on one aspect of fear and hope. I get asked as a pastor a lot the question of, hey, pastor, what does it mean for us to be hopeful or for us to be afraid if we are people of faith? And a lot of times what people are asking is how do we reckon with the idea that as Christians we confess that the end of our story is already written. The last chapter is already decided, and that chapter is God's grace and the fulfillment of the kingdom of God. So does that mean we're not allowed to be afraid? Does that mean we're not allowed to have any worries or fears? I would say no. In fact, I think this is a common misconception. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about it today. One of the angles that the church has approached this question is what is called prosperity gospel. Prosperity gospel. Now, even though the word gospel is in it, prosperity gospel is not the gospel of Jesus Christ. In fact, I would wholeheartedly say that it is entirely false and incredibly misleading to Christians. And what prosperity gospel claims is that if you are a person of faith, then you have no fears because your hope is always in God, and if you believe hard enough, if you have enough faith, everything will go well for you. This idea that people of faith never have to worry about anything. I think that's just completely false, don't you? When I read the Bible, I see lots of fear in the Bible. I see lots of really good people, including Jesus, who feel fear or who are worried about things. Now, the catch is we are taught that fear cannot control us. That fear cannot consume us because, again, that last chapter in our lives is already written. So even if we feel afraid now, that's okay. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to say that I'm a person of faith, but I'm also worried. We just also say that we know that fear is temporary. We know that worry is temporary because the final act of our existence is God's grace, is wrapped in this grace called the gospel. So prosperity gospel says that no one of faith should ever have to worry about anything. And if something bad happens to you, it's because you don't have enough faith. Well, our reality is quite the opposite. What God tells us about this instead is, no, bad things happen to good people. Terrible things can happen to people of faith. We all know examples of this. The promise of God is not that people of faith don't have to worry about anything. The promise of God is that even when we are worried about everything, even when we are worried about everything, God is with us. God does not abandon us. In fact, God knows what we're going through. That's what we call incarnation, is this idea that God became like us in Jesus. So God knows what it's like to be afraid or to be worried or to be concerned or in pain or all of these things. God knows what it's like to wonder where your next meal is going to come from, or whether we're going to catch a terrible disease like COVID in our lives today. All of these things are things that God understands. Faith doesn't mean we ignore those realities. Faith means that we know that those realities will not change God's reality, will not change the fact that God's plan is for you and I to be saved in God's grace, saved and given peace. So, as Christians, we do hold on to hope, and we do feel fear. We know that God is with us, and we can still be worried. We hold both of those things in our hands at the same time, paradoxically. And that's what faith is about. It's about holding on to that paradox, knowing that even when times are tough, our faith can bring us through. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to ponder with me. And if you have anything on your mind, reach out to me on my Facebook page or on our YouTube and let me know. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe at the bottom here. Leave a comment for any of those suggested topics. Thank you so much for joining me. Peace be with you.